everybody, Kendra here, aka Nerdy Millennial, and I thank you all for the 12 subscribers. We're growing and I appreciate it so much. And when I say we, I mean all of us because I want my channel to be a safe space for nerds, whatever fandom you're in, whether it's cosplay, manga, you're in the manga, reading webtoons, anime, LARPing, whatever type of fandom you're into. I want a safe space for us all to connect and positive vibes, no negativity. So thank you all for that. So I thought that I would share my experience growing up nerdy, growing up black and nerdy to be exact. And let's get into it, and also being a female. So I've been into like anime and things like that since forever, honestly, since I was a child in the 90s growing up. And in elementary school, I had friends and I also loved art. So I begged my dad all the time for coloring pencils, sketch pad. And I would, when we would have like lunch breaks and things like that, and then like sometimes we have playtime instead of recess in the classroom. So I would be drawing my little anime girls and things like that. Also, like my Pokemon cards. We had a computer and printer at home. My mom, she would yell at us when she's like, "Stop wasting all the ink," because I was that kid that would print out a whole bunch of anime pictures and put them on my binder. But I also would get black and white photos, specifically Magic Knight Rare, and get black and white photos of those as well as like Sailor Moon and Tenchi Muyo, and I would like to color them like as a coloring book. So I would, do that. And kids in elementary school, I wasn't picked on. Uh, a lot of the girls like Sailor Moon, and a lot of the boys like Dragon Ball Z, which I was a fan of as well. So and I don't know if they knew it was anime because I watched other anime besides those two, but back then, those were popping. So I couldn't really talk to I would talk to the girls about Sailor Moon, but I couldn't talk to them about like Dragon Ball Z or other anime I watched because they didn't like it. And the boys that like Dragon Ball Z, and I tried to talk to them about it, they'd be like, "You're a girl. You shouldn't even watch Dragon Ball Z. What do you know about Dragon Ball Z?" So I'm just like, "Shut up." But yeah, I wasn't really bullied like getting like my books thrown on the floor and things like that. And middle and high school, middle school, it was like a diverse. My middle school was diverse, black, white. We had Latinx, Asian, but I didn't really know any other people that was into anime. But well, I shouldn't say that. I did know some, but they weren't really welcoming. I should say, like when I tried to talk to them about anime, I don't know what it was, but I also like fashion too. I've been a fashionista. I don't know if they felt like I was a poser or I was like a mean girl trying to be funny. I don't know, but they weren't really welcoming. And this was in middle school, and I made a friend actually in elementary school, and we lucked out and got an orchestra together in seventh grade. But at that time in elementary school, she wasn't really into anime. But in seventh grade, she found out about Inuyasha. So I was so happy. So I had someone to talk to about anime. So she was obsessed with Inuyasha. And I would tell her, there's other anime out there besides Inuyasha. Yes, Inuyasha is great, amazing anime, one of my favorites. But there's other anime out there. And she didn't want to hear it at first. She's like, nothing can be better than Inuyasha. So at that time, like Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, I was telling her about those anime, and she watched them, and she's like, "Oh, these are pretty good, but it's still not better than Inuyasha." I was like, "Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm happy that you decide to check them out and listen to me." But she was like obsessed with Inuyasha. She would draw, all the characters, and her artwork improved like throughout the school year. I was amazed. And she would do fan fiction of Inuyasha. Like she loved Inuyasha. And Fukamori, for Inuyasha, the ending song, she knew the whole lyrics to Fukamori, even though she didn't understand what she was saying. She knew, the whole lyric and would sing it, which was really cool. But unfortunately, eighth grade year, she moved away to another state, and when I went to high school, um, we would like message each other, email each other through Yahoo. But sometimes you just lose touch of people, and that's what happened. And I pray and hope that she's doing good. And I'll just, for the sake of this video, I'll call her Catherine. So Catherine, I hope that you're doing good. But yeah, that was my buddy, Inuyasha buddy. So, yeah, middle school, I had her to talk to. Um, like I said, there was other kids that were into anime, but they weren't in middle school, but they weren't really like welcoming. Like I said, if I talked to them, they kind of like looked at me weird. Like again, I don't know if they thought that I was like a poser or something. I don't know. So high school comes. My high school is predominantly black. We had some Latinx kids there, we had some white kids there, and we had some Asian kids, but it was more predominantly black. And of course, I wasn't like bullied, like I said, like in high school either, like to the point where they're knocking my books out my hand, like pushing my head in lockers and put my head in toilet bowls. I wasn't like that, like bullied. So I'm nice, but I can be, don't don't try me. And I'm feisty. They've always been that way. I got into like one fight in middle school, but that had nothing to do with like being a nerd and all that other stuff. That's for another story. But I think that they knew not to try me because I will fight back. Yes, I'm nerdy and things like that, and I am kind, but if you try me, we could go there. So they knew, but they would just say things like, a lot of the black kids would just be like, "Oh, you sound white, you act white," and I would just be like, or they would, say you're weird, and then when they say I'm weird, I'm like, "Okay, thank you," and I'll always ask them, what is a black person supposed to sound like? What is a black person supposed to act like? And every time I said that, they could never say anything, and I just be like, "See." And it was one girl, one of my classmates, black girl, I was reading my manga because we had like a break. So I'm just reading my manga. She comes and is like, "Why are you reading that Chinese shit?" And she snatches it out of my hand. And then I was like, "Excuse me, but it's not Chinese, it's Japanese and it's called manga. And I'm reading it because I like it." And then she just looks like blinks and is like, "You're weird." I'm like, "Okay." Like I had stuff like that. Like and like if I talk, like when teacher asks you to like to read or something, they may snicker and things like that and laugh. But it was never to the point where someone like physically beat me up. Just you act white, you talk white, things like that. You're weird. Why do you like this and also the crap. So there was a lot of kids actually at my high school that liked anime, and it was, I can't remember what grade I was in, but I tried to, because I think they had like a Japanese club, so they would have like anime mixed with it. We were trying to get like a anime club started, but it just never happened. But I tried talking to some of them, and again, like I said, I that's why you just don't judge the outer. You just don't know. But I've been a fashionista. I don't know. Maybe it's the way that I dress. I don't know, but I tried to talk to the kids that was into anime there and in high school, that half, and I can't remember the grade, but they was like uncomfortable, like they just wasn't welcoming. Like I don't know if they thought again like I was trying to be funny, or like I said, I was a mean girl. Like I don't know. So it's like, okay. And then I think junior, senior year, sorry for my camera's moving. My little doggy, he's sitting on my lap and his little head is moving my phone. But I think it was junior, senior year, but met a group of guys that were really into anime and stuff like that. And I talked to them, and it's just funny, guys. You guys are famous for that. It's not all, but stop gatekeeping women. But I saw that they had manga. They were talking about anime and things like that, And I, just came into the conversation, just, was just like, yeah, I like anime too. It's, nice to hear people talk about anime. I'm actually watching that anime. And they're just like, the quiz. They wanted a quiz. Okay, well, who's on that show? Da da da. What other animes you seen? So I'm just like, okay, I'm not new to this. So I'm answering the questions. And I think I knew more, honestly, about anime than them. And they're like, and then they go and say, well, you just don't look like an anime fan. So I'm like, well, what is an anime fan supposed to look like? Well, you're too pretty like anime. So nerds can't be attractive? Like, the heck? I'm just like, that's stupid. So I would talk to them from time to time about anime, different shows, manga, and stuff like that. And they're pretty cool. But it's like, guys, stop doing that to women. But that pretty much, and then also, um it was just weird. Like, my experience, like, being black and nerdy, like, like, most of the black kids there would, think I'm weird, say things like, she acts white, blah, blah, blah. And then some of the kids that were into anime, mixed group, like black, white, and stuff like that, they, when I try to talk to them, they weren't really welcoming. And then there was another half that I met junior, senior year, that they wanted to quiz me first, gatekeep me first, like test my nerdiness, I guess. And then they're like, oh, okay. But then they go and say, well, you just don't look like you like anime. Like, that's what I experienced, which was, interesting. It's like, stop judging people from the outer. So that's something that I experienced growing up black and nerdy. It was kind of like, I kind of really didn't really fit in anywhere. And luckily, like I said, I never got like beat up or things like that, because, like I said, they knew not to try me. But at the same time, I kind of always felt like I really didn't really fit in. Like, there's like, you're like I said, some of the black kids is like, you're weird, blah blah. And then the other nerds were like, I don't know if they thought that I was posing or what. But I have an older sister who's also an anime fan and a cosplayer as well. And I had her, she's older, but I have had her to talk to, and I still do. We're very close. So I thank the Lord for her. So, and I know I'm blessed to have her, because some people, growing up nerdy and things like that, they didn't have nobody to talk to. I also, throughout the years, met some amazing people online that are into anime and cosplay and things like that. But also being into cosplay, in early Y2K, which we still go, me and my sister, it was interesting how things have changed. But, we would have people yell out mean things like, Halloween's over with, you freaks, things like that. But it's just interesting now how mainstream cosplay and anime is. And it's like everybody is like jumping on it, and like, yeah, like, if you're look at it with a side eye, people are giving you a side eye if you don't cosplay and go to cons, which is interesting. But back when I was going, we were made fun of. And I mean, it can be annoying, cuz I've been into like J-pop as well, and K-pop for a long, long time, way before, it got pop, especially K-pop. And it's like, in K-dramas and Asian horror, all that, my sister and I have been into it for a long, long time. And it's just interesting now that it's like mainstream, everyone's, talking about it. And same thing with anime and stuff like that. And it can be annoying, but I'm not going to gatekeep anybody. If you're new to the community, whatever type of fandom you're into, welcome. All I just say is, for the people that come into the community and they're only doing it because they see it's popular, they're sitting there trying to, grow a following, get monetization off of it, but they bring that toxicity, which I know a lot of people that have, and they bring that toxicity into the community. They laugh and make fun of people still, behind closed doors and in public. I say this, please leave, because you're making it, miserable. We had our issues back in the day before it went mainstream, elitism and things like that. But it wasn't to what it is now, because social media wasn't really a thing back then like it is now. So it's just like, social media really brought a lot of ugliness, unfortunately, into the community and other places, other spaces, outside of the nerd community. It's just with this whole clout thing, it's just clout mindset from with a lot of people. But I welcome anybody that's new to the community. Um, you know, there is some toxicity. I'm not gonna say it's sunshine and rainbow, especially now, but there are some kind people that are in the community, and I hope that you find your tribe. And you're welcome to my channel. I just want to, again, a safe space for nerds to connect and things. So you're welcome to my channel if you happen to find me. But yeah, that's my nerdy story. I can't really. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it was interesting, and sometimes I think I still get judged, unfortunately, like get like quizzed like from a lot of guys, and then when I tell them, they're like, "Oh crap, like she knows her stuff." Like I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm not a poser." But yeah, and if you guys happen to come across this video, please leave a comment about what it was like for you growing up nerdy, especially if you're a 90s kid. But until next time, bye.